Welcome to episode 4 of Downwind Diaries, and today we're going to be talking
courses. So we've got 2 courses that have been planned in terms of the Downwind courses
for the World Series, for the World Race.
World Surski Champs ICF, 17th to the 19th of October here in Durban. We're sitting on the beach at the start line, and obviously we're going to be talking today about what we call the Southwest course, which is DUC.
Pretty much the wind that's blowing now.
Yeah, from DUC 33, 34 kilometers to Westbrook.
In that direction.
It's a course I know very well because I've done it since I was a kid. And we're going to bring you a little bit of footage from the last 10 Ks of that course and just talk you through the nuances of where you're going, what we're doing. From my knowledge of chatting to the guys in the system, we're definitely going to be doing a beach or Le Mans style start. And that's just to make it extremely fair. The field has got really big. I think the guys have hit the 500 plus mark on the entries so far, and setting that amount of people off is going to be quite a challenge in making it fair for everyone. So they're going to be doing a Le Mans beach style start. From what we had, that might change.
Pretty much this beach along here.
We are sitting right here on the start line. It's very protected. So on the west, there's a hillside behind the camera over there that kind of protects this area in the corner of the bay here, and it goes super flat. There's not a wave in sight, and really going to be a nice fair start with really flat. You kind of head almost straight out to sea here into the runs. We've got a 25 odd kilometer, 16 knots worth of wind today, and you can hardly feel it here. But let me tell you, just behind us, there's some beautiful bumps out there.
You can actually see it. If you look along the coastline, which I don't think the camera will pick up, you can see the bumps. So at about 1.2 kilometers from here, it's flat water, and then you hit the bumps. I was asking you earlier about tactics. Now, we spoke about a buoy being put out at about 16 kilometers from here. My first question is, what's the role of that buoy? What's the purpose of them putting that buoy out there?
So, I think mainly from a safety perspective. I think if someone leaves DUC here and heads out to sea, the optical illusion of someone going too far out to sea is a very big risk, specifically on this course being quite a lot longer. Most of the guys are used to, at this point, racing a 20 to 25 kilometer international race. We're up at 34 Ks. And to leave people out to sea for that amount of time just creates a risk orientation around people being too close, and policing a field over that course of being 34 Ks, I think it's a really clever thing to do. It brings everyone in closer to shore. The coastline in the second half goes kind of straight, so you're going to be very fair racing. So I think a good thing to do.
What's it going to do tactic wise?
So there's going to be, I want to break the course into 2 parts. So the first 16 Ks to that buoy, and then the second 16 Ks to the finish. The first 16 Ks is going to be really flat to start, which is a K or 2 of really bunch type riding. But I think it'll break up as quicker than people think. People may think that they're going to have 5 Ks of bunch riding. That's definitely not the case. From DUC, within a K and a half, you're going to be catching bumps, which is really not far. And as hard as these elite level racing starts are, I think people will break up into their own batches and stuff as we go pretty quickly, because the bumps start pretty quick. And the reality of riding surf and riding bumps, riding downwind, the bunches will be spread out quite drastically.
Yeah.
But the hard part of the first 16 Ks is actually the navigation. The Bay of Durban is quite big, and you're going to be 2.5, 3 Ks out into the ocean.
You've described the first 16 kilometers, and you've described that within 1.2 to 1.5 kilometers, the guys are going to be in the bumps if the big west is on. And in your opinion, how much tactical advantage is there going to be in the first 16 kilometers versus the second?
Great question, Greg. I think there's going to be a massive tactical advantage for the locals because there's still a lot of navigation across the Durban Bay. You're going to be 2, 3, 4 kilometers from the shore, crossing the bay, and the guys that know the landmarks, know their heading, and kind of nail that line in the first 16 Ks are definitely going to happen.
You think it's going to be a big difference?
Big difference. So the tactical dynamic of the first 16 Ks is definitely navigation.
Then they hit the buoy, around the buoy, and then it's the way home. So what do they have to navigate? Because there's some tiny little nuances there. There's some currents, there's a couple of
So the second 16Ks, in my opinion, is a little bit more simple because you're obviously not crossing the bay. You're directly down the coastline. There are a couple of really easy landmarks across the last bit of the race that you can kind of tell when the finish is coming. So you've got, from Mshonga, you've got a couple of Ks to Mshloti. There's a big outcrop of rocks at Mshloti and a tidal pool. You're then going to have the Mshloti river mouth that comes out with a little dip in the coast. And then there's a little restaurant just before the finish called Beach Bums, and then onto Westbrook. So it's pretty easy navigation-wise, and you're just going to be pretty straight down the coast from there. But I think the tactics are definitely going to be in the second half of how you've paced yourself. Being a little bit of a longer course, the guys that are fitter, the guys that have been using the ocean the best to kind of reserve a bit of energy for those last 10Ks are definitely going to be an advantage. And what I've got for you for this episode is some footage
of the last 10Ks.
Of the last 10Ks.
Now, coming in to that home run, if you don't get it right, it could be there could be a few minutes added onto your finish.
There's obviously surf in Durban. We can't get away from that topic. That's something that's going to happen. Durban has waves. That's part of the environment. We're all going to have to get used to it. We luckily from Durban are a little bit more used to it than most, but you're going to get out. No one's going to have a problem at the start. You're going to have to get in at the finish. I do believe there's going to be a buoy at the finish as well. So they're going to line you up on the piece of the beach that's the best. And timing your way in through the waves is going to be important for everyone, whether you're first or last. And it's something that you're going to have to get your skill levels up. But right now, I've got a whole lot of GoPro footage from one of the paddles that I did with some of our competitive paddlers. Kenny Rice, Nicky Naughton, Ron Benjamo, and Mark Keeling were in Durban. I was able to do a great downwind with them all the way up the coast. We've kind of followed the world's course and came in at Mshloti. So the footage is on quite a shallow line. And pretty much the same line as that I would try and pick at Worlds. I think we got it pretty good that day in terms of the lines. It was blowing 15 knots with a southwest consistent wind and gusting probably in the 18 to 20 knot range to kind of give you an idea of what those conditions would play out in the video. Please, GoPro footage always makes things look a little bit smaller than what they are. So read into that it's a GoPro, enjoy the footage, and
enjoy your downwind tomorrow, northeast.
We're doing lots of practice for Worlds. It's the time of year where wind blows in Durban. We're going to be doing the northeast run tomorrow. So enjoy the footage, and hopefully we'll have more footage from tomorrow on the next episode.
Episode 5.
Episode 5, down to Tody. We'll see you soon.